Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is the Old Review Omnibus, Volume 14. And every Old Review Omnibus has a theme, and this theme is kind of cowboys and westerns. So if you're unfamiliar with what this video series is, it's basically like reviews I have that are on other channels that are older, or reviews of mine that got taken down because of various copyright things and have been gone from YouTube and kind of unavailable for you guys, brought back into these kind of compilation things. Formerly, I did post when people used to do like group channels or collab channels. I did reviews for a channel called The Rough Cuts, so I'm sort of bringing them back to here. This is going to be an interesting one. You're going to get two of the videos were formerly on here, and one was on here for a while, my review of True Grit. There is a review of the original True Grit, I think the John Wayne one, but this is a review of the Coen Brothers one that got taken down for some reason, I forget why. And then right after that is an actual John Wayne movie, the Green Berets, which he directed and starred in, and I forget why that got taken down, or if I was embarrassed or something, I don't know. It's a fine review, whatever. These are all in my old apartment, as they usually are. And in the first two, it's kind of the old way. I made videos with like text and pictures all over the place and more clips, although I guess I do clips now. But just like a different way I did it, and of course it got copyright claimed. But then the other ones, which are from the Rough Cuts, would be 3 Outlaw Samurai, which I'm aware isn't a cowboy thing, but samurai and cowboy movies kind of have a influence lineage thing that sort of makes sense that I can post this and you guys will be cool with it. 3 Outlaw Samurai is more interesting now as it is a big influence on Last Jedi. It has been more since I reviewed this in, I believe, 2011. It's been spotted as an influence on more American directors since I reviewed it, so I was a little too early on this, I guess. I know it was mentioned by Rian Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi. And then finishing it out is a film directed by Walter Hill, a favorite of mine, which was called The Long Riders. It had various like brothers in it, a group of cowboys who everyone thought were brothers who weren't, but they decided to cast like all sorts of brothers. It's like the Guest brothers, the Quaid brothers, the Keach brothers, other brothers, lots of them. I explained it better in the review from like 6-7 years ago. Yeah, so that's basically the deal with that. These are the reviews in the Old Review Omnibus. I don't have too many of these collections left, so enjoy them, I guess, while you can. If you're right in the mood to sit back and watch me review a bunch of cowboy films and then one samurai movie, then this is the compilation for you, and I'll see you back at the end of the video. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film True Grit, which is directed by the Coen Brothers and stars Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon. The first film version of True Grit was really very much a studio film. It's really more about John Wayne and the Rooster character, and it's kind of like a typical Western. This film is more from the little girl's perspective. It makes for a more interesting movie than just having us follow Jeff Bridges' character. They use perspective in an interesting way. I think it makes the film worth remaking. The one thing I thought that was really strange about this movie is it's a Coen Brothers movie. It's not directed the way I expect a quirky, weird, dark Coen Brothers movie to work. To go from No Country for Old Men to A Serious Man to this, I think this is the weirder choice because I've never seen them do a straight-out Western genre film. They've done a lot of films that kind of show a Western influence, but they've never done a straight John Ford influenced Western. And that made it really strange for me. I'm like, this is a Coen Brothers movie? You know, it's weird because it's like, it's executive produced by Steven Spielberg, the same guy who executive produces the Transformers movie. You know, this is a big Christmas holiday film. I think the most refreshing thing about them as directors is I don't think they ever have gotten used to doing the same thing. They always want to try new stuff. Even though this might not be the craziest choice for them to do, I think it was definitely a good one. It reminds me of a 40s Western. Even the little girl, she looks like someone plucked her out of old Hollywood and put her in a time machine and somehow they got her to be in this. A very Lisa Simpson-y kind of performance. She could definitely hold a whole film, and for a 14-year-old, that's really impressive. It's a very well-directed film. All the Coen Brothers films are very well-directed, and having Roger Deakins definitely works. And it's a really well-made kind of studio film, but it's also, I assume, from what I've heard, true to the True Grit story, but I think it's true to the Coens as directors. See, what happened to Westerns, really, when Sergio Leone came in, it just basically changed the whole game, and everyone's been making kind of these more realistic, revisionist kind of Westerns. They used the Leone kind of style, but with Anthony Mann's style, and with John Ford, in an organic way that worked and didn't fight itself. You know, it didn't seem inappropriate. Jeff Bridges does a
really great job. I could have seen a film just with Jeff Bridges playing Rooster because he was really great. I think he was far more authentic. What Rooster would probably be if you're hanging out in saloons and drinking all the time. It wasn't a movie star performance, it was an acting performance, and I think that's what makes this Rooster so much better. I think he's kind of funny, he's drunk and mumbling. Matt Damon was good, I like him doing comedic roles. I think this is a very post-informant performance. The one guy I was really surprised by, and I hope he gets some attention for this, is Josh Brolin, because he did a really great job as the villain. The whole film you're chasing this guy, and then when you get to meet him you're like, wow, he's kind of a fuck up, you know? I mean, you kind of knew he was before, but to be shown the reality of that, you're like, wow, you know, it was a little like surprising. But I like that about it, and I liked, I think his name's Barry Pepper, playing one of the bad guys. He was good also. I actually want to see it a bunch of more times, and I thought of seeing it again before reviewing this, but I didn't, so whatever. But I've noticed that's one thing with their films, is I really appreciate them a lot more after the second or third viewing. It's definitely an enjoyable audience movie, like you can see it with normal people and everyone gets the jokes, and I'm excited to see this on TNT and being like, oh, it's 3 in the afternoon, True Grit's on. I saw it with my dad and my brother, and they both liked it. So if you have seen True Grit and you would like to talk about it, then comment below down there in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. Oh, spoilers. You know, when at the end, when you see the little girl grown up, there was a second I really thought it was like Agnes Moorehead. I really did. I almost gasped. But I think that kind of added to the kind of 40s style that they were going for in this film.
Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today's film is The Green Berets, which is the John Wayne directed with some other guy I forget the name of Vietnam film. Yeah. I think most people have a connotation about Green Berets that it kind of sucks. And while it isn't amazing, I think you should view it as something, it's like this. What they did is they took the idea of a World War II kind of propaganda piece. So instead of like making a new kind of film, which is just like a new war, which probably would have made more sense, they were like, let's take a World War II type film, but let's have it take place in Vietnam. And that's basically what they did, because the villains are portrayed pretty horribly. This film isn't really it's racist in the portrayal of the Vietnam. However, this film is not racist all over, because anyone who was in the Green Berets or in the army was treated pretty fairly. So you can't say that this film was just straight out racist, because it's kind of like just hated the bad guys, basically. I don't think, you know, I know you'd say what you want about John Wayne and that, and George Takei has an appearance in this, which I did not know going in. I was like, holy shit, it's George Takei. So John Wayne, who, by the way, was not in World War II. And in fact, when he was making another film, They Were the Expendables, the army, I guess, consultant made fun of him most of the time. So it's kind of a little humorous that he wanted to do this to promote the military, but he really liked making war movies, go figure. Never fought. The studios didn't let some people go, so it's kind of not his fault, but for real, he didn't. And he actually went to the president and was like, yo, could you give me your full cooperation, because I'm going to make you a propaganda piece that, like, crazy. And he was like, sweet, I'll give you all the military, which you kind of think like having everything you want as a filmmaker is a great thing, is almost like saying, what's a better movie, Jaws or Jaws 2? Think about it. There's a really nice battle sequence in the middle, and I like that. It was cool. And they could do pretty cool explosions, but that was because they had all the military's most awesome shit, because they were giving everything, basically. I mean, they even have that cool thing in Batman where they get the guy in Japan and, like, you know, the balloon goes up in the plane. That was in this. Like they were going to give them anything. They were probably going to give them that UFO in Roswell, but they were like, whoa, let's not go crazy, you know. Would have been a great scene. I don't know why they didn't. Anytime anyone said anything bad about the Vietnam War in this film, one of the military guys would be like, oh yeah, well, if someone came into your country and stole the president and the whole Congress and your mom and all the teachers and tortured them all, you'd be pretty pissed too, and you'd think this war wasn't so bad. And you're like, really? It's really that simple? I thought it was. I mean, I would be upset if that happened, but the thing I kind of like about this film is that it's kind of like some dumbass dad a view of Vietnam in 1968. I like to imagine like some guy like in his house drinking beers and he's like, "That's what it's like, son. It's like that, like Green Berets," you know. I like to imagine that they really thought that, and as retarded and distorted of a view it is, but it's not good, you know, because it's stupid. But if you're viewing this as something that's like a good movie, I think you'll be disappointed. But if you look at this as kind of a piece of failed propaganda, John Wayne can't make a propaganda piece like, you know, the Nazis or the U.S. military or Russia or Michael Moore. It's not that good. But, you know, it's just interesting. It's an interesting little artifact from the 60s and like kind of showing like what people kind of thought and how the perception of war changed and how this film was a little late. And John Wayne, like, who are you kidding, man? Come on. I mean, you can be Rooster, and that's cool, but, like, in this, you're pushing it. Most actors or directors can, like, direct themselves a lot better than he could in this one. I was like, yeesh. So, if you have seen this film and would like to talk about it, or talk about John Wayne or Vietnam, even though you're really late, comment down below, and subscribe if you would like to. And, yeah. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? Today is Tuesday, I'm Jim, and today's film is 3 Outlaw Samurai. These 3 peasants, all farmers, were being taxed pretty heavily by the magistrate. And they haven't had very good years on their farms. They can't really afford to keep paying him these ridiculous taxes. So they kidnap his daughter to basically start negotiating lower taxes. While they have kidnapped her daughter, a samurai walks in, who is just a lone samurai, a lone wolf, a stray dog, if you will. He just kind of walks in and finds these peasants who are holding the magistrate's daughter captive as a negotiating tactic. And he's just kind of there laughing at it at first, but then he eventually gets involved because he really kind of believes in what these guys are doing. They actually have a petition. They really have worked at it and semi-thought this out, although they're not the best at, you know, strategizing. In that way, it reminds me of something like Sanjiro. This film is directed by Haido Gasha, I think. And this is his first film. He was a TV director. He directed this as a TV series first. It was very successful. He decided to make a movie version of that. He's actually one of the first people in the Japanese film industry to do such a thing. It was actually very rare in the 60s. Although in America it was pretty common. I guess in Japan it was different. And that actually the success of this film led to other TV series in Japan being made into movies, such as Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman. The magistrate sends people out because he knows his daughter's been kidnapped. And he goes there and tries to fight them, but of course there's this samurai Ronin guy there. He's an incredible samurai. He's just like, what he can do with his sword is amazing. He kind of looks like Liam Neeson, but he's not. And then Magistrate realizes he needs more samurai and better samurai, so he finds a samurai he has locked up in jail, gets him out, and then when he goes to fight, he realizes that he wants to join his cause as well as the samurai who works for the magistrate. And they all kind of join forces in this weird way. The Ronin who was there first, he's really protecting the peasants and this idea, this political change that they want to start in their region. That's something I really like about this movie, is how political it is and how universally political it is. And these peasants were going to present their petition because the magistrate, I guess, isn't in charge of the region. There was a guy higher up who was coming through the town, and they were going to give him the petition. And they were going to show him like what's been going on and hopefully make change. And the magistrate does not want that to happen because he considers that an incredible embarrassment. The camera work in this movie is so striking, and the framing in this movie is just incredible. But I can't imagine that this guy was really a TV director the way he shot this. This is shot like a motion picture. You know, there's a lot of TV directors that go into movies and you can tell, and it's just like, looks like a sitcom or something, and you're like, why is this even a movie? It doesn't look like a movie. It's not shot like a movie. In this film, I just think it would be pretty amazing to see on the big screen, you know. And the fight sequences, they do these amazing tracking shots when these samurais will like knifing down all these other samurais with swords. I feel like I have seen quite a few, but I don't know a ton about samurai films. But as an American,
I think, to me, this film really could have been a Western. The samurai is basically the lone gunslinger of the Old West. You could really just take all the dialogue and everything, just change the settings, and it would probably be pretty similar, except for all the stuff about samurais and stuff. That would just seem weird. This movie's always kind of stuck out to me, and I haven't seen it that many times. By the end of it, I'm always like, I don't know, it makes me think about causes. It makes me think about how people want change one day, and then the other day they're like, you know, it's just too scary, we're just going to lay low sometimes, and we're just going to take it, and how kind of depressing that can be. It has some epic sword fights, and if you like samurai movies, I think, you know, you don't really need to read into the politics to enjoy it. I think it works very well as just a samurai movie, but it has so many layers to it. Thank you very much, Rough Cut viewers, for watching. I will be back hopefully next Tuesday. And if you have seen 3 Outlaw Samurai and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments. And subscribe to the Rough Cuts if you haven't already. Subscribe to my main channel, and which is in the description right here. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX. And follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr, who did the drawing at the beginning and end of this video. Hey, what's up? It's Tuesday. I'm Jim here for the Rough Cuts, and today I will be talking about the film The Long Riders. Now, The Long Riders is directed by Walter Hill. Walter Hill famously said about his films, every film I've done has been a Western. Walter Hill, who also directed films like 48 Hours, The Driver, which Drive is slightly loosely based on, and I reviewed on this channel previously, Warriors, Hard Times. A lot of the films Walter Hill directed are kind of Westerns. This is his first actual Western. You know, the others are kind of, you know, they use a Western structure, they're very Western-like, but they are not actual Westerns. But this is an actual Western. This film is about the James Unger gang, who, of course, Jesse James wrote for, and his brother, Frank James. It deals with the James Unger gang. It's the only, I think, real actual brothers. I'm not an expert on this whatsoever, but the only real actual brothers were Frank and Jesse James. Everyone thought they all were brothers, but apparently most of them were not. Maybe through marriage, but blood-wise, I think it was just Jesse and Frank. Regardless of that, Walter Hill decided to cast several sets of brothers. There are the Quaids. You have Dennis Quaid plays Ed Miller, and then Randy Quaid plays Cecil Miller. Then you have the Carradines. There's 3 of them, and even one of their kids is in it, and I think one of their daughters or nieces or something. That's not really important. David Carradine plays Cole Younger, Keith Carradine plays Jim Younger, and then Robert Carradine plays Bob Younger. Robert Carradine, the least cool of the Carradines. But then you have Jesse James and Frank James, and Jesse James is played by James Keach, and Frank James is played by Stacy Keach, who's an actor I really love. And then you also have the Guest brothers, yes, Christopher Guest, who plays Charlie Ford, and Robert Ford, who's played by Nicholas Guest, who I've never really heard of. The Keach brothers also actually wrote the film. This takes a depiction of the James Younger gang kind of when things are declining, they're falling apart. At the beginning of the film, Jesse James gets married. They're all kind of growing up. They've been doing this for a while. I mean, we do see them rob a bank before they start to like really grow up and not be as into it, because, you know, Jesse James has a family now. You know, later on in the film, there's a point where someone says they have a family, and then they get shot later. And Jesse James looks at him like, oh my god, like, I have a family, I could be shot. Walter Hill's so good with ensembles. I mean, he had just directed The Warriors the year before. Kind of like late 70s Westerns. I have like a weird thing for them, because it's like post-spaghetti Western, things are kind of falling apart, people are maturing, they're getting hunted by the police. This is post-Civil War, Reconstruction era. A lot of Westerns are a part of that, but this film kind of gets more of the attitude. It's not just like the railroad is coming. It's like time has moved on. They've been hurt by the wheels of time. To them, like, robbing banks is like almost like, I feel like they're like fighting back against the Yankees, and they're really hurt and wounded by like what's happened to them. Robert Carradine's a character, Bob Unger, like comments like, you know, I didn't fight in the war, but it affected me so much, and what big of a mark the Civil War left on America, and it felt like maybe it was capturing part of America in that time period. He shows stories of the other characters, particularly David Carradine's character, Cole Unger. It shows stuff about him in this horror, he's into, who, like, I don't know, their relationship's really funny because she would say something like, why don't you give me enough respect? Or like, why didn't you invite me to this party? And he goes, because you're a whore. There's this one sequence towards the end that, like, the gunfight starts off, it's an amazingly cut sequence, but then it takes this dark turn and becomes, like, very surreal and bizarre and, like, really cool and really smart. So if you have seen The Long Riders and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe to the Rough Cuts if you haven't already. Subscribe to my main channel in the info box below. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX, and follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr, who does the picture at the beginning and the end of this video. And thank you very much. Whoa.
So that was another Old Review Omnibus. Quite a few of these fucking things, I guess. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching kind of my leftovers reheated for you, but that works out for this Thanksgiving weekend, I guess. I hope you enjoyed seeing me talk about, like, John Wayne and cowboy stuff and all that thing. I should do more Westerns. I don't review enough Westerns. So this was the times that I did review them, and a war movie. It's actually only 2 Westerns, now that I think about it, right? It's just True Grit and The Long Riders, sandwiching a war movie and a samurai film. I guess it's like cowboy related. Wow, I didn't think of that till like right now. Whatever, it works. You'll be fine. It's cool. Anyway, check out the other Old Review Omnibuses if you'd like to see my early work, or obviously you could just watch it on my channel. Just go to the uploads page and do, you know, oldest instead of newest videos, and you can watch those too. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for subscribing and all those good things. Comment below if you have seen the following 3 films: True Grit, the newer Coen Brothers one, The Green Berets, The Long Riders, or 3 Outlaw Samurai. Thank you very much for watching, and subscribe if you would like to.